Welcome to Bump Set Chat, the podcast where volleyball professionals come on and share their stories, experiences, and advice. And today, from Long Beach, I have Nato Dickinson. Welcome.
Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, so happy you're able to come on and share your story. And the way we start things off is we do 3 random questions. So are you ready?
Let's go.
All right. Favorite place you've ever played a volleyball match in?
Ooh, are we talking on the indoor or beach included?
Wherever. It doesn't matter. This is your story, your rules.
Well, last summer I got the opportunity to train with the USA collegiate team for beach. We ended up down at a World University Games down in Brazil, and so that was a pretty sick spot to be at.
Oh, no doubt. That's awesome. All right. So now, if they played songs before you went to serve, what would your song be?
Ooh, a song, maybe something by Clooney, house artist, but I don't know if I have a specific song in mind.
All right. No worries. And last question. What is one TV show or movie that you've watched way too many times?
That's definitely going to have to be the Peaky Blinders.
Yeah.
Great show.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, hey, welcome to the podcast. Congratulations on amazing final season at Long Beach, And how's the summer going?
It's been good. I've been training with the USA A2 National Development Program. That keeps me pretty busy up in Hermosa, Manhattan area. And also just trying to get a last hurrah essentially before I leave to go overseas.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw you guys just played a 6-man beach tournament. How was that?
It was a lot of fun. Finally got to play on Team Slunks this year. My old head or assistant coach, McKay Smith, is kind of the big dog up there. And so once I finally was free from the college obligation, I was given the green light to join the team.
Oh, nice. And how was the experience?
Oh, it was phenomenal. It was just great seeing guys from my era, guys from his era. I even actually got to play with one of my coaches for my overseas team on the team, Ryan Meehan. So it was just a great time.
Excellent. All right, so let's go back to the beginning. Where are you from?
I'm from Corona Del Mar, California, a little city in Newport Beach.
All right, and when did you discover volleyball?
I have an older brother who's about 3 years older than me. He played at USC, but he had started playing in high school. Cut the summer coming to my 7th grade year. My dad and my brother were like, hey, why don't you just try out for the middle school team? And I'd never touched a ball, never really done anything. And so my training camp for it essentially was us tying a rope between our basketball hoop and a palm tree in our front yard, and that was our net. And I got a few reps out there in the driveway just to get me comfortable with the game before trying out.
Oh, man. And now, from there to now, what is the hook volleyball has on you that's, turned into such a passion and, allowed you to play on such a big stage?
I think I just really love, one, the competitive nature of it, but also most sports people play nowadays are on a time constriction. And so I don't really like being like, oh, if we had a little bit more time, we could have done it. I like that there's a point cap rather than a time cap.
Yeah.
And so you can have crazy games and, go 30-32, or you can shut someone out quick and go 25-0 in some cases. And so I just love you kind of set the pace of the game.
All right. And growing up, did you play other sports as well, or volleyball was your focus?
Yeah, I mean, when I was really young, I feel like I did the classic trio of, basketball, baseball, soccer, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Didn't stick with it too long. My 3 other biggest sports probably were swim and water polo and martial arts.
Okay.
I did swim for about 13 years, water polo 3 stacked on top of that, and then martial arts for about 10.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I had one of my buddies. He plays from Texas, and he played water polo at Air Force Academy. He was telling me he would train holding like milk jugs out of the water, and that's how he'd tread water. I was like, dude, that's hardcore.
Yeah, we never had the milk jugs, but we definitely had our own set of training. They call it Hell Week for a reason.
Nice. And now, looking back, who were your biggest influences or role models from a volleyball standpoint growing up?
I definitely think initially my older brother. I kind of feel like I had the younger brother mentality where it's like, okay, first I'm going to follow and then I'm going to be better, which I feel like I've succeeded in a little bit now that he's stepped away from the sport and I'm heading overseas soon. But I don't know, as I've aged through, I had an interesting time at Long Beach a little bit because I pretty much played every position but libero there.
Oh, wow.
And so it's hard to really just stick to, most guys will like find a guy or two that plays professionally or just maybe at a higher level collegiately than them and watch them and try to emulate the game. And I never really had that consistency. So I was kind of just morphing myself from a conglomerate of players.
Oh, okay. And then, growing up, in high school, did you also play club ball as well?
Yeah, I did. want to say I started my 14s year. That sounds about right. I played with Balboa Bay until my 16s year, and then I transitioned over to Pinnacle Athletic Club up in Long Beach, my 17s and 18s year.
Okay. And how important or crucial was it for you to play club that allowed you to be able to play at Long Beach?
I mean, I feel like club volleyball is where a lot of guys are going to get the additional reps in because I was fortunate enough to be at a very competitive volleyball high school at Corona Del Mar. But I know a lot of high schools don't have that capability. So I really think for the general public and myself included, club volleyball is where a lot of the reps are going to come from and the exposure to college coaches.
Yeah, definitely. And then after high school, college was next. What was the recruitment process like, and what made you end up picking Long Beach?
Well, at the time, I was a setter, looking at a bunch of different universities. My main three checklists were California, Division I volleyball, and a business school. And
Okay.
so those three kind of narrowed me down pretty quick. There was a moment that I thought I was going to be going to USC and joining my brother. Just financially, though, the position or the scholarship I was offered wasn't financially suitable for my family to have my brother and I there at the same time.
Yeah.
So we had to pass on that. I was briefly talking with University of San Diego the year they were transitioning from D2 to D1. And that was an exciting opportunity. It was more of a gut feeling when I stepped on the campus. And like I said, when they were still transitioning from D2 to D1, I actually got a chance to practice with them,
Yeah.
which was a really cool opportunity. But yeah, like I said, I played for Pinnacle Athletic Club, so I was really familiar with the coaches and the players already. Um, I mean, also just coming off their back-to-back championship wins, that was a huge draw as well. Big names, TJ DeFalco, Josh Tuaniga, Kyle Ensing, all those guys.
Yeah.
It was just there was a lot of draw for me here, and it felt very comfortable. And so I knew the transition from club volleyball to college volleyball would just be essentially seamless.
Yeah. Yeah, and speaking of the players and coaches there, I've had Mason Briggs on, I've had TJ on here, Coach Knipe, I've had Nick. And they talk about the character of a Long Beach guy. Nick says he surrounds himself with beach guys, and Alan talks about the culture, the accountability there. What, in your opinion, what's a Long Beach guy? What is the culture?
Well, that's something we push really, really hard. I mean, I'm sure you've probably heard Nick and TJ and Mason, all these guys you've had on, come on and talk about the grit that you have to be at Long Beach State. Um, and one thing that really stuck with me is like you kind of have to give up on your motivation because it's not always going to be there, and you have to really focus on your determination because that's what's really going to drive you to excel to the next level. Motivation's going to come and go. There's going to be a day you get up and you don't want to do the early lift or you don't want to go in late and get those extra reps. But if you're determined to be better, that's what you're going to do. And I think that's what a lot of the guys that go to Long Beach State have in common. They're determined to be a better player and a better man for it.
Yeah.
Um, and so they just want it more than other people, I guess.
All right. Yeah, actually, I try to get a couple of questions from people and actually, I asked Mason for a question. He said he didn't have a question, but he did say that he was very proud of you for sticking it out, working hard, and you're such an awesome example of being ready to all along just step up for the team.
Yeah, no, I definitely appreciate that from Mason. He was a very good friend of mine when he was still here on the team with me and kind of a guiding role for me just in terms of the mental side of the game and how to approach it, especially with the Long Beach State mentality. Because as you know, talking to him, he's a very intellectual guy on the sport,
Mm-hmm.
but also very passionate and fiery when it comes to it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of another player, Kellen is going to be coming on, and he wanted me to ask you, who was your favorite travel roommate?
Oh, that's gonna be an easy one. That's Simon Torrey. I had him for 4 out of my 5 years. One of my closest friends I've had at school, and miss the guy like crazy while he's playing overseas right now.
Yeah. All right. So, and back to Long Beach for a sec. Um, what was sort of the big thing that stick out that made you pick Long Beach? Was it the coaching and the who went there?
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely from like a location standpoint to begin with. It was just far enough away from my hometown where it felt like a different experience, but
Yeah.
also close enough where everything was still comfortable. Um, but yes, definitely the coaching staff as well. McKay Smith and Nick McRae had been coaching me on and off throughout club my last 2 years there at Pinnacle.
Oh wow.
And so that was already a comfortable relationship I had. And then just only being a year behind Aiden Knipe, I was quite familiar with the family already and Alan as well. And that was one thing when my family and I were talking about the whole college process is the coaches and the players are going to really be your life. Yes, you're going to have to be at the university and there's going to be other students involved, but that's going to be my life for the
Yeah.
next 4 to 5 years. It ended up being 5. And we just decided that Alan, we trusted him to not only make me a better volleyball player, but a better man as well.
Nice. And then along this process, you were redshirted at some point, right?
Yeah, I redshirted my freshman year.
And what was that like? I've had other players on. I've had Skylar from who she went to Nebraska. She was redshirted her first year, and she, looking back on it, she was really happy for it. It made her a better player overall. And it's not easy by any stance. But for you, how did you approach being redshirted?
Yeah, well, it's definitely a humbling moment. I feel like everyone kind of has to get humbled a little bit when they get to college because especially going to Division 1, you're used to being the best guy in the club, best guy at your high school, whatever it may be. And then you just get dropped right back in on the bottom of the totem pole and you kind of have the ego coming in. And that was definitely something I struggled with my first 2 years. And luckily Nick, Allen, and McKay were all really gracious with me and helped me come around it. But it was just I was really fortunate as well. Like another guy in my graduating class, Seabass Rodriguez, he was originally supposed to be on the travel roster instead of me, and I was going to redshirt, occasionally be a practice player and not travel to that many games. Unfortunately for him, Spencer Olivier broke his finger about 3 days before our first game, so I got picked up for the travel roster, and so I was super, super fortunate and grateful that I got picked up to be a travel player throughout all the games in my
Yeah.
5 years.
Yeah, that's something, you talked about a little bit, the humbling experience. And that's something I ask a lot of the coaches is, how do you not lose those players? Because like you said, coming from club, you're the starter, you're the alpha, and now you're coming in where you may have a role. You may not even get on the floor. And how do you not lose them that first year, that freshman year is a tough task.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, you could probably ask any of the coaches. I did not have the greatest attitude my first year. I was a little bit frustrated by the fact when I thought I was coming in as a setter and I was wanting the opportunity I thought I deserved, and they had bigger plans for me as a pin. And so I had a little bit of friction coming to that decision. And obviously it ended up working out and they turned out to be right. But it was definitely, I didn't have the full scope in mind and I was very narrow sighted at the time.
Yeah. And now, looking back, if you can go back to, freshman Nato, what advice would you have for him?
It would really just be to trust the process. I mean, I think every 18, 19-year-old coming into college, they think they already have it all figured out. They're like, oh, I'm an adult now. Like I can do it. I know what I want. I know what I can do. But you really are still so immature, physically, emotionally, mentally, that you have to be okay accepting assistance from those around you and those that really love and support you. Um, and so I would have just told myself, be patient. Your time will come. Put the head to the grindstone. Just keep working on the small things now, and it'll pay out big later.
Yeah. And how big of an adjustment was it coming from club, the level of play from a level of play standpoint, coming from club, and now you're in a D1, one of the best schools, for volleyball, and now you're playing at that level.
Well, I think in essence with COVID, I was pretty lucky, weirdly saying, because we initially couldn't be on campus practicing because I came in the 2020-2021 season.
Okay.
And so our first probably 2, 3 months of practice were off campus. And so it was essentially all captain's practice. So a lot of the pressure was off. It was kind of just getting to know the team and kind of figure out what's what. Just kind of being led by guys like Simone Anderson, Mark Moody, Ethan Siegfried. Um, and so I was really appreciative of that because it kind of lifted the weight off the shoulders a little bit, and I kind of just got to feel the game, get a feel for the game first before I was actually kind of under the lights with the coaches there. Um, and so when I stepped into the gym, I was very comfortable with the level of play once we actually got in front of the coaches there.
Yeah.
But like I said, it was definitely just the mental side I was still facing a little bit of adversity with.
Yeah. And through your time there at Long Beach, what have been some of the highlights that stick out for you?
I mean, the easy one's obviously the national championship, but I don't know. I mean, I highlights and is kind of like to me like also just the stuff I'm really gonna miss.
Yeah.
So it's like the small stuff, like just shooting the shit around with the guys on the bus and just walking around a little bit when we had the chances to in Hawaii or Ohio or wherever the NCAAs were hosted that year, and just kind of getting to know guys on a deeper levels, not only just like, hey, this is my teammate, but this is like my good friend, my brother.
Yeah.
And definitely formed a lot of lifelong friendships. Just, being there through the blood, sweat, and tears together really bonds you.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of the players I've talked to, ones that went on to play pro, they talk about the locker room. That's what they miss the most because it's just the one time in your life where you just hang out. Some people are doing homework and you don't may not get that moment again.
Yeah, no, that's definitely like the double-edged sword I'm kind of facing with going overseas here. It's obviously I know I'm never going to have anything like this college experience. I'm not going to be seeing all my closest friends every day, being able to hang out with them for hours and hours on end, and then going home after practice and hanging out with them a little bit more. But I'm also ready to take that next step and kind of explore what the potential I could have still, and kind of see what level I could push myself
All
to.
right. And let's talk about the fan base, the community around Long Beach State. How would you describe them?
Well, I mean, I think we have the best fans in volleyball. I would like to probably attribute ourselves to like Buffalo Bills fans.
Yeah.
Just we got some rowdiest, most dedicated people out there. Um, I know everyone's always probably saying like, "Oh, well, Hawaii this, Hawaii that," but
Right.
nah, 562's got it on lock. And
Nice.
the amount of like unconditional support we have from donors and fans and community support has just been unreal.
Nice. And what's it like to play in the pyramid? That seems like such a unique, awesome place to have, play some ball.
Yeah, no, definitely. Like I remember my first time walking in there, the awe factor of it was just insane. But as the years go on and the games go by and the practices continue on, it just starts to feel like home. And I don't want to say I take it for granted, but I don't think I appreciated the sentiment of it until like I came home from NCAA's and I opened the pyramid doors for the last time to go into the locker room and put my stuff away.
Yeah.
And I kind of just took a moment in there and just looked up and around. I was like, damn, this is it.
Yeah. Now, you were just talking about, you're going to be going pro next year. Where are you going to be playing?
So I actually have two contracts lined up this season. I'll be leaving September 4th to go to India to play for the Goa Guardians. So my first month will be in Goa. That's gonna be like kind of our training block session. And then from there, I'll be going to Hyderabad, and that'll be our competition. So that'll be across September and October. Once that concludes, I'll be home for roughly 3 weeks, and then I'll leave end of November just after Thanksgiving to go to Indonesia, Jakarta, Indonesia,
Oh,
and
wow.
play with a team called Lavani. It's actually the same team Taylor Sander played for last year, and he'll be returning with us this year. And very fortunate to say that we'll be coached by David Lee. So it'll be
Oh,
nice to have some American and Long Beach blood there.
yeah, absolutely. That's awesome. Yeah, that's, one thing that I talk to a lot of players who go overseas is, it is tough because you definitely need to find a hobby because you end up with having a lot of downtime, especially if you don't have, other Americans or Canadians with you.
Yeah. No, that's definitely the thing in these Asian countries. They have a foreign roster cap of two foreigners per team. I just happen to luck out and get two Americans on both my teams, including myself. And so it's definitely going to assist with the cultural changes as well as just like the living changes. And that's something I've been discussing a lot with my family. I mean, it's definitely I'm open and excited for the new experience, but a little anxious about it too, because obviously you're losing all your immediate support system
Right.
and your friends and your family and people you can go to when you're having a rough day. And a FaceTime call or a text just really isn't the same as seeing someone in person and talking it out.
Yeah.
So it's definitely going to be a mental shift, and hopefully that mental fortitude Long Beach has built in me will help me out. But
Yeah.
only time will tell.
And speaking of Long Beach, during the course of the year, did you guys have a certain game or a certain, anything circled on the calendar, senior night or a certain, tournament away game or, somebody coming to play you guys or just the home opener?
I mean, Alan always preaches that we got to treat every game like it's like any other game,
Yeah.
not to highlight or discredit any team, but we got to play every match like it could be the finals, like we could be going home. And we talk about the three respects a lot. We talk about respecting the logo, the game, and our opponent. Um, and the way we respect our opponent is giving 110% every game, every point, because that's what they deserve, and that's what we're going to show them what we can do.
Yeah. And, this, going into your last year, you guys won it all. What was your first thought when that final point dropped and you guys knew you were the national champions?
It was so surreal. I mean, you say that and I'm getting chills. I don't think I feel like it started to sink in a little bit now, especially when we came back and did the parade down in downtown Long Beach.
Yeah.
That was crazy just to see the community support that we had from that. And but it felt like I was living in a movie at the time. I mean, being honored enough to like serve the game-winning serve and have Moni put that ball down on the overpass, it was just like it just a video in my mind I'll never lose.
Yeah. And what was the energy in the locker room afterwards?
Oh, it was everything and more you'd imagine.
Yeah.
Guys screaming up and down, waving the shirts around. We even pulled off a Gatorade dump on Alan, so that was huge. He goes, "You guys are the first team to actually pull that off on me," so we were pretty psyched about that.
Nice. And looking back, what do was there a certain key to your success this past season, or was just just the right combination, what right chemistry?
I mean, I think a lot of outsiders would definitely attribute it to Moni Nuklov, which don't get me wrong, of course, he's a major factor in this situation. But I think every guy that was on the court, either in the finals or in all the games leading up to, really had a strong dedication and will for this team this year. You could tell the energy in the gym was a little bit different after getting knocked out last year. We kind of came back with a little bit of a vengeance. Losing at home is never easy,
Yeah.
and then getting the opportunity to face that team again in the finals. Just that pregame hype before we got going against UCLA in the finals this year was incomparable to last year.
Yeah. And what do you think was the toughest match, on the road to the championship overall for you guys?
I mean that's a good question. The one that sticks out to me first would probably be our away game in the Big West Finals against Hawaii in the Stan Sheriff.
Yeah.
Just roaring crowd there, sold out, standing capacity only, going in a tight five setter. Um, but I definitely think we needed that. I mean,
Yeah.
if we came in and we're like, oh, we're just walking through all these teams and we never really faced any adversity. I mean, the dream is always to have an undefeated season, but I feel like sometimes you got to get the reality check to put the chip back on your
Yeah.
shoulder so you kind of push a little harder, drive a little deeper, and really get it to the end.
Yeah. Almost like a wake up call.
Exactly.
Yeah. And if you're going to lose one, might as well lose it before the final, for the that's the one.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Lose them when you can.
Yeah, absolutely. And now, what will you remember the most about this championship season 5 or 10 years from now, do you think?
Hmm. I mean, just the energy, like you said, in the locker room before and after the game. I mean, I feel like that's where just, it's like if you were to call our team a basket, there was no holes in it at that point. Everything was watertight, and we knew everyone had each other's back, and we were going to do whatever it took to win. And then letting that just explode of energy both during and after the game, and just really just being able to be joyful about the work that we'd put in this year and not feeling like we had left something on the table in years prior.
Yeah.
We just everything and more that we'd wanted.
Nice. And now I had no idea that you were sort of played every position. I thought you were a pin hitter right out of the gates. But for
Yeah.
you, how has your game grown since coming to Long Beach?
I mean, astronomically. I mean, I was definitely had, like we said, some mental challenges when it come to changing because I was never really a fan of being, good at all, great at none.
Right.
And I kind of had to flip my mentality on that and just be like, hey, I may not be enjoying the various positions that I'm in. However, if I look at my alternative game of beach, this is really helping me become an overall better player. And I think also just my IQ level of the game increased astronomically because having to learn every rotation, every play style for every position, it really just helped open my eyes to the whole court essentially, rather than just like, okay, this is my position. I need to do this. I need to do that. This guy, whatever he's doing over there, is it my problem? I need to do this. I understand the whole court. And so I think that allows me to be a little bit more flexible and versatile between whatever position I play.
Yeah, and speaking of beach, so many people tell me beach is such a great way to improve your indoor game. Raising your volleyball IQ. You have to play all aspects of the game and bring it inside. When did you
Mhm.
start playing beach?
Um, well, I've always kind of played leisurely and casually a little bit with my dad. Has started out, he likes to call it old man ball.
Yeah,
And so I'd go down to the beach by our house. And when my dad and his buddies needed a fourth, I'd go down and just kind of maybe go like 50, 70%. And keep in mind, this is probably when I started in early high school. And so by no means was I an astronomical volleyball player at this point, but obviously I'm young, I'm physical, I can wail on them a little bit if I needed
Yeah.
to. But I don't know. I started playing competitively beach probably about 4 years ago. I got invited to the collegiate program. Alan was actually nice enough to put in a recommendation for me to the director. And so Seabass Rodriguez and I got picked up my first year back in 2022, coming to 2023, 2024. No, yeah, summer between the 23 and 24 season. Um, and so I did collegiate the last 3 years. And then this year, after the end of my collegiate training, Scott Davenport came up to me and said, "Hey, we'd love to have you for the A2 program. So, as much as we can get you up here, we'd love to have you." He even went as far to try to convince me to cancel my pro contracts and he wanted me to train year round with them. But I was like, I still enjoy the sport indoor. I'm gonna go make a little bit of money and then we'll talk when I'm back out here consistently.
Yeah, yeah. I had another beach guy that's playing beach still. Taylor Crabb was has been on the
Yep.
pod, and he had an amazing story as well.
Yeah, I love Taylor. I know him well, not as well as my past beach partner, Ford Harmon.
Yeah,
Very close friends with the family, and so it's been great to kind of being brought into the fold through that,
yeah,
and just kind of picking his brain about just all the different innuendos of the beach side of the game.
yeah. And speaking of beach, what aspect of the beach that you really enjoy?
I mean, selfishly, being able to touch every play,
Yeah.
but also it's just a completely different mind flip. I mean, it's not so much about how high you jump, how hard you hit. It's you have to play consistently, as I say, the biggest thing. I mean, obviously you want to be consistent indoors as well, but it's even to a larger magnitude when you're on the beach. There's also so many outside factors that you can't control, wind, the depth of the sand, stuff like that. And so it really hones in your mental game, and it also expands your creativity on the court
Mm-hmm.
because there's so much more court to shoot with. You don't need to swing 100% at every ball. I was even told by my coach Scott Davenport, he's like, "You're hitting the ball way too hard, man. Your 70% swing is more than enough for what we need out here."
Yeah.
And so getting the opportunity to open up my shot selection between roll jump tips and cut shots and whatnot, it's really expanded my game. And I also don't think the cross training hurts me at all. I mean,
Right.
jumping in all summer, I'm gonna get back on the hardwood and I'm gonna probably get an extra 3 inches due to it.
You're gonna think you're flying.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. And to the mental side of things, when you're indoor, you have a few bad plays or a couple of bad plays. What is your go-to reset and refocus?
So something I liked utilizing was a page out of Matt Anderson's book. Anytime he would make an error, he would walk to the end line or sideline, wherever was closest. I choose whatever's closest. I'm not exactly sure if he had one he preferred, but I'll step outside the court, kind of shake it off, and then step back in because Alan liked using a lot of baseball
Uh-huh.
references when the volleyball, and so he would always tell us you can't shit on the rubber.
Yep.
And so I wasn't allowed to shit on the court. So if I was going to shit, I had to step off the court, get it out, step back on. I'm locked in for the next play. Doesn't matter what's happened in the last play. Doesn't matter what I think's going to happen next. I'm focused on this play, and that's all that matters to me
Yeah.
then.
Absolutely. And during the course of the season, when there was a tense moment and the tension needed to be cracked, whether it was a joke or something, who was that guy?
Ooh, this last year.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's a good one. Probably, I'm probably gonna have to give that one to Dane Hillis.
Yeah.
I'm actually staying at his house right now, and he's always just been such a close friend of mine and a guy you can go to for a laugh, but also just someone you can confide in. Just overall, just a great guy.
All right. And now, you're moving on. You're never really going to leave Long Beach. What words do you have for next year's leaders?
Uh, be ready to step up and take on the challenge. I mean, we're gonna have a bigger target on our back than we ever have. Long Beach always has a big stigma around it, and that we're the big bad wolf. And that's gonna be double, if not three times, the case due to our last year's championship. And so you got to come out with a vengeance. Don't come out lackadaisical because you did it once. You got to follow the tradition of going twice. No, you got to go and earn that. So you got to put the head to the grindstone early and put the work in so you can get the goal you want.
Yep. And words to the coaches. Any final words to them?
Uh, McKay Smith, always gonna be my dog. Uh, Nick McRae, thank you for pushing me to limits I didn't even know I had. And Alan Knipe, thank you for having the patience and influence to make me into a better player and kind of handle a little bit of my tantrums at times and hone me into a better man and especially a better volleyball player.
Nice. All right. So, we mentioned Moni a little earlier. He had this 17-year-old kid showing up last year. A lot of hype probably. What's one of the things that stuck out to you the most when he showed up?
Well, I mean, I also had the opportunity to play with his brother Alex,
I
and
was going to
so
ask you if
yeah,
nice.
so we already knew a little bit of what was to come. Um, but then, when we had talked to Alex in the past, and he goes like, "Yeah, my brother is going to be coming in soon, and trust me, age for age, he's better than me by a lot." We're like, "Oh yeah, for sure, for sure." And then we get it here, and then obviously he breaks the ace record at 86. We're like, "Oh." And so, and there's also the things you can do with the ball. He's so creative, so physical. I mean, I always joke to people, I probably saw an open net more than I saw a blocker.
Yeah.
So it made my life really easy.
Yeah. And how did he do adapting to the American lifestyle? Coming from Bulgaria, it's probably a lot different culturally. And I had an opportunity to speak with him in Quebec at the VNLs. Well spoken, well mannered kid, and even same with his brother.
Yeah, no, great brothers, both of them. I mean, I feel like just like any big change you have, there's gonna be things you're enjoying and there's things that you could probably live without. But I feel like he was always very good about keeping the spirits up and keeping his eyes on the right task and being focused on what was at hand and not letting outside factors that might be bothering him affect the game.
Yeah. And now, did you guys corrupt him with any American fast food?
Um, I don't know. I mean, yeah, I hung out with the guy quite a bit, but I mean, being a fifth year and a freshman, we kind of ran a little bit different of a circle.
Yeah.
So I don't know what his fast food preferences, but seeing him in the locker room and around, I don't know if I ever saw him picking up a bag of fast food. I know he lived for the dining hall, but
Nice. All
yeah.
right. So now, something that, a lot of younger players will need to do as they move on into their college and if they make pro is, scouting video. How is your approach to, sort of scouting who you're going to play or who you're going to be blocking against and things like that?
Well, a lot of what I do has definitely come from Long Beach. Um, Alan, Nick, and McKay are great at putting film packages together. And shout out to John Perry for getting all the printouts and organizing all the film and being the wizard on all of our data sites that we use. Um, and so we'll often talk about the long and short checklists. And so we'll kind of start the week with this big, long idea of what we think a team is going to be, because we'll kind of start on a Monday playing a team Friday, Saturday, how the week's going to look. Um, and so as the week goes on, we kind of watch film throughout the week and we narrow it down to maybe two or three things. If it's like, say there's a team with, really one big guy that they run 70% of their offense to, that's gonna be a main focus, obviously. But if it's a big system-based team, we're gonna break it down a little bit more by rotation and watch a lot of setter film and kind of being like, hey, in this situation, where does he put the ball when it's tight late in the game? Who's he gonna give the ball to? What can we load up on? What tells does he have? Um, and so it's a lot of breaking down the game, taking the macro and putting it to a micro, but not it's a little confusing at times because you don't want to focus so hard on the micro that you're overanalyzing everything of the
Right.
game and just be freed up and play. And so when we look at it, our standard like game day routine would be come in for serve and pass. We sit down for an hour of film after, and that's gonna be quick, just going through rotations, going through servers, probably 5 serves per player and like 6 balls in a side out system. And we have our ODCs, which are offensive distribution charts in front of us. That's all laid out by our technical coordinator, John Perry. And I mean, when you first look at that sheet, you are so confused. I remember sitting down my first year and looking at that thing. I'm like, what is going on? And then you just start reading it like it's a picture book at that point. Like
Yeah.
by the time you get out of there, I can glance at it and tell you everything about a team. And so they made it very streamlined and very structured for us. So that became secondhand nature. And they really pushed us to watch a lot of film on our own. So it wasn't just information given to us, it was a collaboration between team and coach.
Yeah.
Um, and so when game time came, we maybe had 3 things that we were keeping in mind, like, hey, this row, he definitely wants to go here to this guy, or this server likes to serve here every single ball, or this guy in this situation is always going to chop line. But they really trusted us to play our game because we never want to put too much energy into the opposite side of the net. We always want to focus on what we're doing and what we're doing to contain them, and also what we're doing to continue our own runs.
Yeah. Nice. And for you, what were some of the little things that helped you be a better server?
I was, I mean, having Moni and Alex in the gym definitely was nice because you got two world-class servers there, and just being able to watch their form, but also just talk to them a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that was huge help for me because when I first came in, I'd always try to jump vertical and then just use my arm. And then I'd start watching them like, oh, they're tossing like 5, 6 feet into the court,
Right.
and they're landing halfway into the court. They're just putting their whole body into that ball. So that definitely helped improve my power. Um, and then just, getting a little bit of a routine down. And Alan would always say, get a breath and roll those shoulders back, keep the chest up. That really helped center me and find consistency in my serve. And we'd even did a drill. I don't know how much we do it anymore, but I remember early on in my college career, Nick would have us go to a side court and he'd be like, all right, close your eyes and toss your ball. And you have to know where it's going to land. Now, we're not obviously jumping and serving at this because it's way too dangerous, but
Right.
it's basically just gauging how consistently you could be. So, you're not tossing to your left, tossing to your right, tossing behind you, tossing too far in front of you. It's just get the repetition and the feel down. So when it comes to it, it's second nature.
Yeah. Oh, nice. And then the other thing, what drills or techniques helped you be a more effective or for hitting, improving your accuracy or increasing your power?
Um, I mean, I've always thought, and I've had others tell me, I've just naturally have a heavy shoulder. I may not have the fastest arm swing in the world, but a guy I kind of like to attribute myself to a little bit is an old USC player who played at my high school as well, Ryan Moss. He never looked like he was getting on the ball very hard, and then he just got hit by a slug. And so it just, I don't know. I maybe attribute it to like my swim background where my shoulder's just naturally used to that motion and that
Yeah.
movement. And the guys on my team would always like to give me a little bit of shit because there could be 6 feet of angle, and I'm still trying to try to squeak that line with this weird shoulder swing that'd probably tear anyone else's labrum. And that was just a more comfortable swing for me than coming back across my body for whatever reason on my shoulder. Um, and also shout out to Eric Beebe, my old roommate and teammate at Long Beach. He and I would get in the gym as much as we could, and he wants to work on setting. I'm like, great, I'm gonna work on my hitting. So we'd go through buckets and buckets and buckets of balls just late in the pyramid. And I definitely attribute a lot of my consistency and power to him.
All right. And playing many positions, what is your favorite position to play? If somebody said, "Hey, Nato, you can play. You're going to be whatever you want to play." What are you picking?
For a time, I definitely would have said setter. I mean, I just like kind of essentially being the quarterback of the team. And I also just like the creative flow you can have with it
Yeah.
and just expand on it infinitely. But also just it's really fun just being essentially the meathead on the right. I block ball, I hit ball hard, and that's all you have to do. And you get all the glory. It's like kind of I don't even know what I'd attribute it to, but you're just the big meathead over there,
Yeah.
and you're getting free out of system ball, and you're getting all the weird sets, and you're expected to put the ball on the floor.
All right. There we go. And speaking of positions, I had Eric showed you on a while ago, and him and Taylor have this thing. What's the toughest position in volleyball? So Nato, here's your chance. What is the toughest position in volleyball?
It's gonna have to be middle blocker.
Yeah.
I mean, the blocking system that we run at Long Beach using the split step and just if you commit, that's not allowed. And so having to read the situation out of the setter's hands. I mean, some guys obviously it's easier than most because they have larger tells and so you can kind of get it down quickly. But having four, in Moni's case, 5 guys running an offense at you, your head is spinning until you get comfortable with the system. But it was also when I was playing middle earlier this last season, that was definitely helping me read the game because I'd be on the other side of the net of Moni and you don't know where the ball is going to go. I
Right.
mean, you're on his team and you don't know where the ball is going to go. And so training against that and having to really fine tune the motion and the read made my life infinitely easier when I'd step on the court against some other players and other setters. And I'd be like, oh, you're arching your back. You're definitely going overhead. Oh, the ball's way out in front of you. You're going outside.
Yeah.
And so it's the small things that you pick up on and just it feels almost like a gut, like a reaction,
Mm-hmm.
but it's more of a no than a guess
Yeah.
because you just pick up on the tiny things so quickly.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, and I'm glad you talked about playing middle, and I could have swore I saw a couple of clips of you playing middle, and I had to go look. Wait, but it says he's right side. What? And then now I understand. Because you
Yeah,
sort of
yeah.
wherever you fit, that's where where you they put you in.
Yeah, so like I said earlier in my career, I kind of struggled with the mentality of that, just being thrown around all the time. I felt like I was never getting consistent reps, and I voiced it a couple times, kind of unwarrantedly, that I was getting shorted in certain positions. But like I said, I had to have the mentality shift. Should be
Yeah.
like, hey, I'm getting additional opportunities that other guys aren't. I'm having more avenues to the court
Right.
rather than if you're only an opposite and just an opposite, there's one guy that plays. So we got four opposites on our team, you have a 25% chance. If I can play opposite and middle, I just doubled my chances
Yeah.
or tripled them with two middles on the court. And so it really opened up a lot more avenues for me. And so I kind of fell into that. And I even had a talk with Alan because there was a period of time where the reason I ended up playing middle is we unfortunately had a lot of our middles go down with injury. Um, and I had played a little bit my sophomore year. And I was like, hey, I know you're not going to be a fan of this, but we need you to step into the middle a little bit. We'll still get you your reps on the right, but we need you in the middle right now. I was like, okay. So that went on for about a week and a half. And I ended up going up to Alan's office and like, hey, Alan, like I, I just can't make the mental switch, especially from the blocking aspect, because hitting in the middle is the most fun and easy thing ever. You're up before anyone else, bang, there it is.
Right.
But the blocking mental shift for me was just so hard to wrap my mind around. I was like, I feel like I'm going too early on the right. I'm too late in the middle. I just need to focus on one. And we had this long conversation, and it was basically, I would love to play right side because I know I'm going overseas as a right side. However, I understand the connection between Moni and Daniil Hrstanovic is unbreakable right now. Like they are having 600 point or not point percentage games every time they play together, and their connection's unreal. So I know my way to the court is going to be through the middle,
Yeah.
and I know that's gonna be the best thing for our team. And so I'm like, don't train me at opposite. I'm a middle for the rest of the season. And so playing middle, ended up working out, getting on the court a little bit, having some time to shine. Um, and then just at the end of the season, right before Big West, Daniil goes down on injury, and essentially had a week of practice. And he's like, "All right, your number's going to get called. Here we go. You
Yeah.
ready?" And I was like, "Let's do it."
That's a great mindset of switching it around, and like it just gives you more avenues to the court. I think that's a really great point. I think a lot of other younger players can see that perspective because once they say, "Oh, I'm in the middle now. I don't want to be a middle," but it's you're getting touches, you're getting play time, and it just makes your value go up over time.
Exactly.
Yeah, excellent, man. All right, so now away from the court, what are some things you like to do?
Man, I really just feel like my life revolves around volleyball right now. I mean, up until last weekend, it was training 4 days during the week, and every weekend was coaching or tournaments. But I love getting out on the water. Whether that's paddleboarding, foiling, getting on the boat. Um, Back before college, I really loved to snowboard, but fortunately, haven't been in about 6 years out of fear of injury and just keeping my body right. Um, but yeah, I mean, anything that's done with family or friends, and we're in an environment where, you can play music, hang out, and laugh, and that's what I love to do.
Nice. Speaking of injury, you remind me of something. Now that you're going to go overseas, having a nutritionist, things like that that help you, fuel your body right. What's going to be your approach when you go over to Asia?
Well, I'm trying to maintain the mentality that I would have at Long Beach. I mean, we'd always say the more time you spend in the weight room, the less time you're going to spend in the training room. So I'm just gonna try to prepare my body as best as possible before I leave. So come in strong. So even though I've been playing on the softer impact of sand, my body is going to be well adjusted when it comes into that harder surface of the hardwood. Just because, I mean, making the transition back into indoor or even just the transition after summer, getting back into the sport, your knees, your back, everything just from the impact level is just, it goes. You feel like you got punched in the legs for 3 days straight when you come back for the
Yeah.
first couple of weeks. And so, luckily, being up in Long Beach fairly consistently right now, and it's close enough. The guys for college are starting to get back in a little for open gyms, and I'm kind of poking and nudging to try to get my way in there as well, just so I can kind of get my legs back under me a
Yeah.
little bit. get the tempo down because everything slows down on the beach.
Yeah.
And so I'm just looking for any avenue I can to try to keep the reps there.
All right. Well, hey, Nato, thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate it. Good luck next season. But before I let you go, like with past guests, I look for you to recommend somebody in your volleyball circle that, has a good story that you think should come on.
I would love to see. Have you had Simon Torrey on here?
No.
You should talk to Simon because he was a little bit of inverse of me. He went
Okay.
from opposite to middle, and so he knows the other side of it.
All right. Well, we'll get you to twist his arm and we'll get him on.
Perfect.
All right. Well, again, thank you so much. It was wonderful to meet you.
Thanks. Likewise.